What's good, y'all? It's your boy Trevor. Will be back with another video. Today, we're gonna see how to make gummy bears. Now, this man about to do it himself. DIY, DIY. So I'm ready. I'm excited because I love seeing people at home make stuff. It's cheaper. What's it called? When you do it yourself, you can sell it or whatever case may be. So I love homemade stuff. So let's get into it. Hope you're having a blessed day.
We're making this childhood dream come true. We're making gummy bears. Or let's say I spent the last 3 weeks trying to figure out how to make gummy bears. Because while making gummies is quite easy when you know how, it's the how part that is actually the challenge. And to be clear, there are plenty of recipes online, but most of them result in gummy bear shaped jelly, which is definitely not what I'm looking for. What I want is a bouncy and super chewy gummy bear, and after many failed attempts, let's just say I'm pretty sure I cracked the code and have a recipe for you. And so, without further ado, you'll find all the exact ingredient amounts in the video description below, but it's the method that really matters. First of all, we're gonna need gelatin, a crucial ingredient in gummy candy making. It's what gives them their signature elastic texture. And before you ask in the comments, unfortunately, agar-agar or other plant-based alternatives have really not worked for me at all, and believe me, I tried. So for this method, gelatin it is, sheet gelatin to be specific. And one of our first steps will be to cut it up so we can fit it in a food processor and blend it into a powder. I know, you can just buy pre-ground powdered gelatin, which does work, but sheet gelatin gives you much cleaner and more reliable results.
Okay.
So why are we grinding it at all then? Fair question.
They're like sawdust a little bit. Like some powdered sawdust. Just a joke.
About hydration. Gelatin needs to be rehydrated or bloomed in water first, and if you grind it up, you can get away with a lot less water, which is important. Spoiler alert, this is the key to success, keeping the hydration in this recipe as low as possible, but more on that in a second. This is the reconstituted gelatin you'll end up with, which you want to set aside for now while we work on our second crucial ingredient, sugar. We basically want to turn it into candy, for which we'll mix it with some water and start melting it on medium heat. For this step, you're going to need a thermometer. A candy thermometer is perfect, but a regular one will also do the trick. You only want to stir a little bit and very gently for even heating, and as soon as your sugar hits around 115 degrees Celsius, you can take it off the heat. Here's the thing, the further you cook your sugar, the more moisture will evaporate and the firmer or harder your candy will be. Here's a test batch where I heated the sugar to 135 degrees and the resulting gummy feels almost rock hard until you actually begin pulling it apart. Surprisingly, it not only stretches but even retracts, and if you're like me, that's actually a pretty desirable texture. Chewy gummies are awesome. So what's the downside? The sugar syrup will be so thick and sticky that it's going to be virtually impossible to get it into a little gummy bear mold without some kind of industrial grade nozzle. After countless fails, I feel pretty confident in saying that for home gummy making, the sweet spot is between 115 and 120 degrees Celsius. The next ingredient we're going to need is glucose, and this is what glucose looks like. It almost feels like it's not even moving, but it actually is. It's just extremely thick. It's not really pourable, so what you want to do is just go in there with your wet hand and just give your best. I'm adding it straight into our hot sugar syrup, which I put directly on my scale with a heat-proof pad in between. That's the only way we can weigh our glucose, really. And you want that sugar hot so we can mix in the glucose easily. Now, you might be wondering, do I really need to buy glucose, and why? The good news is you can use corn syrup or this rice syrup, very thick, that I found, which works just as well. You could even do honey if you like the taste, but you do want to use one of those so-called inverted sugar.
Honey. Now, I think that'd be a good one because natural, more healthier than corn syrup or rice syrup. Not rice syrup, that rice thingy, whatever. But honey. You sound like you're cooking with that honey.
gummies. I don't want to get too sciencey here, but it's really important for the texture and lifespan of your gummies. Here's what I mean. This is a test gummy I made with glucose and it's about a week old. Looks like new. This, on the other hand, is a gummy I made where I replaced glucose with more sugar. And check out how weird it looks after a week. I mean, I used a different color, but it's about the surface where you can see the sugars recrystallizing. So if
maybe you don't know what StockX is?
or another inverted sugar. Now, once your glutch has fully dissolved into the sugar syrup, it's time to add in our gelatin. And because we kept the hydration super low, this might feel a little awkward in the beginning, but if you keep stirring, it'll eventually come together. Keeping your pan on the stove on the lowest heat possible is very helpful here, and if you still feel things are just out of control, you can add 1 or 2 tiny splashes of water, but do take it easy. A little will go a very long way. Once your mixture feels smooth enough, you want to briefly rest it, and you'll notice how a lot of bubbles will form on the surface. Those bubbles will not disappear and eventually end up inside of your gummies unless you get rid of them. And the right time for that is definitely right now. Just skim them off with a spoon. Now, while your mixture is still nice and warm, you want to divide it into squeeze bottles or little measuring cups. I want to make 6 flavors, so I have 6 bottles. And with that, we actually did all of our hard work, because now comes the fun part, which is coloring and flavoring and casting our gummies. And I'll tell you all about that after a quick word from this video's sponsor, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN service, which means it keeps you safe and private by securing everything you do online. If anyone traveling, for example, when I want to access my German Netflix library from another country. Also, if just like me, you consider yourself a savvy online shopper, Surfshark is your friend. You can finally check out products spots are. That's just some accidental caramel that formed as we were making the syrup. To flavor or color your gummies, you're definitely gonna need aroma extracts and food coloring, just like these. I did try using fruit juice, but the overall amount of liquid in this recipe is so low that you can barely taste anything. Therefore, I add a few drops into each bottle. I'm doing strawberry, green apple, lemon, tangerine, pineapple, and a mystery blueberry woodruff thing, by the way. Also, I actually forgot to add citric acid before. You should really mix this in with your gelatin so you can save yourself this mess. But actually, speaking of the mess, the great news is that both sugar and gelatin wash off really easily under hot water, so the cleanup is not as bad as it looks. Case in point, look at this highly satisfying set of gummy syrup bottles. This is what we have worked so hard for. Only thing is, as these are cooling down, they are beginning to set and harden. Look at this lid, for example, which is already clogged. Fortunately, it's an easy fix with the help of a toothpick and some hot water. Now, to be able to work with these for a while, you want to keep them warm, and my favorite way to do so is to place them in some hot water. If you really want maximum convenience, you can even attach an immersion circulator, aka a sous vide stick, set it to 65 Celsius, and now you can take all the time in the world. The last thing you're gonna need is a silicone mold for your gummies. I found these for like $8 online, and there are actually plenty of other fun shapes to choose from if you like. The rest is pretty self-explanatory, really. Just fill your molds with your gummy candy syrup, and you want to go slow here. Keep in mind that any bubbles you might get will solidify with the gummy and stay in there forever. You can rest your gummies on the counter for like 20 minutes, after which they should actually already have set quite a bit. But they are still way too soft and definitely not done yet. For that, you want to put them in the fridge and let them hang out there for at least 2 hours, or ideally overnight. After which they should come out just like this. Nice and chewy, very elastic, and with a good amount of resistance. If you like, you can actually let them air dry for a little longer, up to like 3 days, and they will firm up even more. When you're ready, dip your fingers in a bit of vegetable oil and unmold all of your bears. This way they won't stick as badly. And with that, we have made it. DIY chewy gummy bears that are a lot more fun than the store-bought kind.
That's fire. And the best thing about homemade stuff is you're going to add the ingredients what you want. Not what the store wants, but what you want. So it was real entertaining to watch and just see the process on how he made this. Because he, like he said in the beginning, trial and error. So when you fail in one thing, continue to try other stuff until you get it right. So this was interesting. So I hope y'all enjoyed. Hit that like button, subscribe, share. It's your boy. The Most High love you, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and myself. We love you as well. Y'all have a blessed one, and y'all take care.